Littleton Public Schools is a dynamic and highly respected district serving approximately 13,000 students. The LPS Toddcast with Superintendent Todd Lambert is a venue for us to tell you all about the news, initiatives, events, and people who make up the LPS story.
Hello, I'm Todd Lambert, Superintendent of Littleton Public Schools, and welcome to this episode of the Toddcast. I am joined by my sidekick, Mr. Jonathan Levesque, Chief Financial Officer for Littleton Public Schools. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be back. We have an exciting topic today. We have some guests to start off with as well. We have Nate Thompson, our Director of Social Emotional Behavior Services. It's a mouthful, Nate. And then Kira, a junior from Arapahoe High School. And we're going to talk about the SPEAK committee. SPEAK stands for Students Promoting Emotional Awareness and Kindness. Isn't that exciting?
It sounds like a great one. We're really happy to have this opportunity to talk about mental health and LPS. A lot of people don't know, but this is not only a priority in LPS, it's a priority for our school board. It's a priority in our community. And one of the best things about being in Littleton is that this community takes care of itself. And I just want to remind people, just as an example of that, if you are experiencing a mental health crisis, or you know someone who is experiencing a mental health crisis, there are lots of supports. You can call 211 and get that mental health support with that hotline, or you can go 211colorado.org. Let me repeat that. 211colorado.org if you have a mental health crisis or you need mental health support. We want to make sure you understand those resources. They're also included on our district website, thanks to Nate and his team. So I don't know if you know this or not, but if you're a regular follower of the Toddcast, you know we like to start out with an icebreaker question. And so we're going to do that today, and we always have John ask that question. So John, what do we have for today?
All right, we do have an icebreaker, and I'm going to have our guests answer it first.
All right.
So, Kira and Nate, who is the strongest person you know, and how do you wish you were more like them? Big question.
I can go first on that one. I'd say that the strongest person that I know is my oldest sister. She's 20 and she goes to CU Boulder, and she's resilient, she's kind, and she is compassionate. And I want to be like her every single day. I really look up to her in every aspect of my life.
That's very nice. Nate.
Well, John, I'd probably have to say right now my mother. She's been impacted the last couple of years by some strokes and just has some physical challenges, pain, and it's really hard to watch, but she really makes me proud to see how brave she is just living through that. So I think her and anybody that has a severe medical issue or disabilities probably.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, like Nate, I think I would have to mention my mom, Pat, as well. 87 years old. You know, when you get to that age, you deal with a lot of health things, and you wouldn't really know it. My mom still tries to come through for the family. She still comes to events and does all those things. But at the same time, I know it's a challenge, right? I mean, the physical things that go with being that age, whether it's slowing down with high blood pressure, maybe it's just the everyday wear and tear that comes with being 87 years old. But boy, she is still going at it, and I'm so proud of her. And she's the strongest person I know right now, for sure.
Very nice. I would have to say a family member as well, my sister. She keeps me in line, tells me what to do, and I wish I could be more like her every day. So
don't mess with your sister, John.
I know, you never do.
That's for sure. Well, it sounds like we have some questions to ask our guests today. You want to start off with the first one, and then we'll just kind of do some rotating?
Yeah. Hey, Nate, so we're going to talk about mental health, obviously. That's a big part of your job here at Littleton Public Schools. But what are some common myths about mental health crisis, especially among teenagers, and what are the realities to that?
I think it's a great question. I think sometimes adults misperceive sometimes what's going on for teenagers especially. I think kids of all ages can have challenges with mental health in different ways. But as adults, sometimes we get to this age and then we start thinking, oh, this is all just about drama, and how bad can it be for students? And so I think sometimes this myth of like teenagers are just being dramatic can be a misnomer. Certainly there is some of that, but I think as adults we really need to make sure we stop and listen and hear from students what this is about when they tell us they're not doing well. Mm-hmm. And so maybe the term crisis is not the one every student would use. But I do think it's really important for adults to make sure we're attuned and listening into kids really deeply.
You got some head nods from Kara, so you're on the right track.
Kara, how about a question for you? Do you notice your peers, your friends, talking more about mental health maybe than they did a few years ago? And if so, why do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I think that mental health, specifically talking about it in schools, has gone up partially through a couple programs that we've done through Speak, including Mental Notes, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Right.
I think that another thing that is helping with the stigma around mental health is social media. While it does have its bad aspects, it definitely has some good ones too, where it's normalizing having mental health problems and taking mental health days and understanding the fundamental reasons behind stress and depression and anxiety and all of those things that a lot of different people deal with in their day-to-day lives.
It takes so much courage to ask for help. And I think, my generation, that was a sign of weakness, right? You had to toughen up. You didn't expose those vulnerabilities. And you look back on that, and that was such a mistake, right? I have friends that suffered from that. And if you could just open up, right, and find the support you had. So it's really great to hear that. Thank you for sharing.
I'm kind of wondering how, Nate, do we connect students to mental health support? Can you walk us through some of those examples?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so proud of our district. I think LPS has really, over the years, become a national leader in what we do in mental health. Every school and every school system struggles with just what is the role of the school when it comes to mental health. And LPS has really attacked the entire spectrum of what we need to do for kids, from prevention and really thinking about how we educate kids around their brains and around mental health so that they know, how to get help and what they should be thinking about for their own development. And then how to intervene with kids when they are struggling. And a lot of times that comes from teachers. It comes from, nutrition workers. It can come from anybody in the school to try to notice when kids are not doing well and get them connected to either a school mental health professional, a counselor, a psychologist, a social worker, or connect with their parents and get support outside of school. And probably what I think I'm most proud of about this district is we're so lucky to have a foundation that raises money, and we have a program where we can connect any kid or family to therapy outside of school and remove all of those barriers. And that's really unique for school systems to have that. So we're really proud that we try to provide those resources all along that spectrum.
That's really interesting to hear, because I think typically people think of the school counselor handling most of this, but you're saying that the entire school environment is looking out for students and directing or identifying that they may need some more support.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kira can probably talk more about this, but what we hear from kids is they're really close with a lot of their teachers, and teachers are really important people for them. And not just teachers, right? In some schools, it may be a different role, maybe the library media person that they've really connected with. In some schools, some of our younger kids, they connect with the custodian. So we want everybody to be attuned to those things, even though we do have some specialists who that's really their focus is supporting the mental health.
Question for Kara. At the beginning of this, I mentioned the 211.org and some of the resources that are out there. You've heard Nate talk about some of them, and we're aware. Just curious, which ones do students actually use that your experience? What do you actually see students using the most?
Yeah, those websites, I think kids a lot of times think that they have to be in a life or death crisis to utilize. So they're going to go towards some lesser resources if they think that they really need that. Things like school counselors or teachers, like Nate was saying. I've seen a lot of kids who have really strong bonds with teachers and counselors. At my school specifically, we have an amazing counseling team who have really been able to bond with students, and even the ones that aren't specific to their counselors, like they don't fit in their alpha, they've also bonded with them, and I think that's really important, just building a relationship with kids. But when in a deeper mode of crisis, I think kids don't understand the level that they should be or need to be in order to use the resources that are for worse crises, or what they think are worse crises.
Do you think we could do better at getting that information to the kids? Is there some kind of way you believe we could maybe increase the likelihood that they would access those resources?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of ways that I can say that this is going to happen, but it's not going to happen overnight for sure. because you can't just like decrease the stigma of mental health or the understanding that you don't have to be in a life or death situation to reach out for help, or you don't have to be in the same amount of crisis as another person in order to need help, because everyone's needs are different.
Right.
And I think just like fundamentally understanding that for students is going to be a big help.
Well, Kira, you have a shirt on that says Speak. Can you give us a rundown of what that means to you?
Yeah, so I've been a part of Speak now. This is my second year. I've really found a community in it. So I think that's one of the number one things that it's about, building a community of people who are passionate about mental health and advocacy for that, which is the number two thing. Thinking about advocacy in the district for all students. Mm-hmm. And I think number three, it's peer-led, which definitely increases my interest in it. And I know that it has also increased others' interests in it. Because if an adult is telling you this is why you're suffering from your mental health, you're going to be less likely to listen than someone who's in it with you, because this is a hard time in life. And a lot of kids don't want to be lectured by adults who they think don't understand, mm-hmm. or who are their parents' age. So I think that it's really important that kids are getting help from kids by us helping them understand what they have out there to get help for.
You said you've been in this your second year being in Speak. What's been to date the most meaningful work you've been a part of, and why?
That's a really good question. I think, honestly, stuff like this, getting my voice out there to everyone in the district, I think that's really powerful. As someone who's been passionate about mental health for my entire life, since I've been struggling with it and I've watched others struggle with it, I think just being able to advocate for myself and others has been the most meaningful thing that I've been able to do.
That sounds fantastic.
It sounds pretty incredible. Nate, tell us a little bit more about mental notes. That's a new term, at least on the podcast or Toddcast here.
Yeah.
But can you talk us through the curriculum there?
Yeah. So Mental Notes is a really unique new curriculum that was built right here in LPS. And it started about 4 years ago when we really realized that for our secondary students, our middle and high school students, we really didn't have a consistent part of our curriculum that helps kids understand basically the things about their life and their brain and their mental health that would help them be resilient. And so we created a task force of teachers, administrators, mental health professionals, parents, and students, and really looked at what are those key essentials we think that kids need. And we contracted with a digital media company, and we built this curriculum. And a big part of that was our students, our Speak students and others that really gave us feedback about what would be impactful, what would connect with them. And then this curriculum was created, and it's now approved by our school board, and it's mandatory now for every 6th and 9th grader in our school system.
One last question about mental notes. Probably now that we've been in it for a little while, what kind of feedback are you getting from families, from parents, from guardians? Anything from them?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we've had some. I think most all the feedback we've had has been positive. We've had a few questions about it. We worked really hard to make sure that curriculum was really basically the essentials. Understand how your brain works. What are some of the challenges you go through in adolescence with relationships, with drugs and alcohol, with stress of school, those kind of things. And overall, our feedback has been really good. We are really thinking about how in the future could we do more about engaging parents. So what can we get out, maybe even give them a login to the system to look at that information as well.
Yeah, it seems like yesterday when you rolled it out for the first time and put it out and how impressed everyone was. Well, Kira, Nate, we are so happy to have you here and talking about a topic that is so important to this community, to our hearts, to our students. And we feel in great hands with the students we have advocating for each other. You did a great job today, and I know you do a great job with Speak. Mm-hmm. And Nate, as always, we're so appreciative to your generosity and how selfless you are about taking care of our students and their families. So we're just proud to have you here today on this topic. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you. And I think we're both appreciative of just everybody in LPS. And I think represent all the students and all the staff who work so hard every day to support mental health.
That's great. Well, we've really enjoyed exploring this topic. As we like to do in the Toddcast, we have a few other items at the end of our shows. One of them is to share some of the good news that's going on in the district. I don't know if you know this or not, but we hosted a wellness expo for staff and a classified job fair that was last month. And we had, it's the second year we've done that. What an amazing turnout. We had a 145% increase in our turnout from last year. I read that last night at the board meeting. I was just surprised at that number, but after being there, you could really tell. So I know the Human Resources Department, Brian Regan, Sherry Charles, and that team have really done some great work with that. We also, and this is one that's really near and dear to my heart, last week on Thursday, we had our first Little Learners Lab at the Family Learning Center. For those of you that don't know what that is, the day you turn 1 in Littleton Public Schools boundaries, you are eligible to join us at the Family Learning Center for the Little Learners Lab, where our EPIC students, along with parents and guardians of the little ones, work together on developmentally appropriate activities. It's about a 45-minute session, and our goal is just to engage our community, increase parent agency, and boy, we are off to a great start. So we're so proud that that's gotten going. And then finally, there's been a lot said about the government shutdown that just ended and the peril it put many of our families in without the SNAP benefits. Please know that we have worked really hard in this community, along with other agencies in the area, to support our families in this time of need. We're not out of the mix out of this yet. There's still some challenges that go to our food banks. We're trying to continue to communicate with them. Nate, I know your team is in communication as well as you've been with the Arapahoe County commissioners and different folks there. And like we said earlier, mental health is such an important part of this community as we take care of each other. This is just another example of how we treat each other in Littleton by supporting our families. Lots of good news. John, why don't you share a little bit about upcoming events? We always have something hopping in LPS. What's happening?
Yeah, we have Thanksgiving break coming up soon, full week with friends and family, and hopefully some relaxation.
Hopefully.
That'll be November 24th through the 28th. Then we have winter break, December 22nd through January 5th. January 5th is a Monday. That's a non-student day. We will be in the office, though. You and I. And,
yes, we will.
And our ESC building will be. But that is a non-student day for our students. But in December 6th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Newton, we have our LPS chess tournament.
Check.
Yeah. 250 slots open until they're filled. First come, first serve. Open to the public.
How's your chess game?
Not good.
Not good. I watched some of the ones participating.
I might have to go and
amazing.
just watch and learn a little bit.
No doubt. Well, again, Nate, Kira, thank you for being here. We're so proud to have you as part of LPS and part of the Toddcast. And I think we learned a lot, and I think our audience will really appreciate the information that was shared here today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just to repeat, if you or a family member are going through a mental health issue or crisis, you can always call 211 or go to 211colorado.org for any support and resources.
All right. And I'll close it with this. We just want to remind our viewers of the Toddcast to subscribe. It's always great to subscribe so you know when the next episode's coming up. And speaking of the next episode, we're excited about this. You heard Jonathan mention the LPS Foundation and Nate. They've been so instrumental in supporting mental health in this district. We are going to have the LPS Foundation as our next guest here on the Toddcast. And I think you are going to be amazed at all of the things our foundation does for students and staff in this district. So we're really excited to have them on the next version. So again, thanks again for being our guest. And I think I heard you say you had something you wanted to provide to us right here on the Toddcast. So before we close out, we want to give you that opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. So on behalf of everyone at Speak, we would like to gift you guys some Speak sweatshirts.
All right. Well, I see those sitting right there on the center of the table. And I can't, just so you know, when you're here in the Toddcast, Jonathan and I are locked into these chairs. We can't jump all over the studio or it's going to cause quite the problem. But somebody behind the scenes that you can't see off camera right now on the Toddcast is putting this shirt right in front of me, passing it to John. That probably just flew across your screen. We are so grateful for this. We love our Speak shirts.
Look at that.
Look at
That's
that.
awesome. Thank you.
Now we're matching.
Official members
I
now.
know.
Wow.
Official members.
And now I know when I wear this and people ask me about it, I can explain what it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
All
Very
right.
cool.
What a great Toddcast. Thanks for joining us this time.
And keep learning.